Good morning, hello everybody. Welcome to the channel live stream for the month of May. I know it is May 31st, but we are here, and that's the important thing, right, Kate?
Yes, absolutely.
Happy Wednesday to you. You are not normally working on a Wednesday, so this is the only thing you're doing today. I don't normally work on a Wednesday. Unfortunately, I'm getting ready for a trip later this week, so I have to work today. It feels like 6s and 7s. I think Erin's taking the day off. Michael is coming in.
It's all gone completely wild.
Exactly.
Just living on the edge.
It's kind of funny because Anonymous Freak did a Muppet flail at the same time. I went, and I thought, wow, the live stream's doing really good. What have you been up to, Kate?
Well, yesterday we reviewed a car.
Forever.
It's been ages. It's been almost 15 hours, 16 hours, yeah.
Sorry, I've got a coughing.
My car drove me home. That's what I did.
Well, that's good. I moved 2 cubic yards of soil compost after we were together yesterday filming. So we were filming the Nissan Ariya E-Force.
Yes, that's definitely right. Yeah.
And for those who've watched the channel before, obviously we watched this back in excuse me. I drove it in I don't know, March. It was March I drove it. And I liked it then. But we had a difference of opinion yesterday, and I think it's going to make for an amazing video. And our production team were like, well, yeah, you guys, it was a really good video. So I hope that when we actually publish it in a couple of weeks' time, that's how we feel about it. So I've got all of the rushes here. So this one says Ariya E-Force stand-ups, and this one says Ariya/Chase. So they need to be offloaded today because tomorrow we are off to LA. Well, I'm off to LA with Michael. You're off to your other job.
Yes. Slightly less salubrious.
People have been asking why you only work part-time at Transport Evolved. And I don't know if you have a better answer than I do, but...
I get paid a lot more to do my other job.
Yeah.
I have a house. We need to pay for it. The bank don't believe that when I make up money, it's the same as when they make up money. And I don't think that's reasonable, but apparently that's the way capitalism works. So,
yeah, I have I have a partner who has a decent, fairly high-paying job, which is how I don't always get to pay myself. But other team members actually have to pay their mortgage and their whatnot. So, Kate works part-time for us, and part-time for a healthcare provider. That's a good way of putting it, right?
I work for a hospital. I'm an ER nurse when I'm wearing my other hat, which goes well over the hair, you know.
And people ask what what the purpose of this today is. It's for you guys to talk to us, for you to ask questions to us, but for us also to kind of cogitate slightly on some of the big stories that have been happening, what we've been up to, and also this is a chance for us to plug the fact that we would love you all to support the show by going to patreon.com/Transport Evolved. It is June 1st tomorrow. There are 3 pay periods in June if you pay every 2 weeks. So Transport Evolved could really make use of some extra pennies. And I'm excited to tell you, if you go to patreon.com/Transport Evolved, you can choose to join from as little as $1 a month. And it really makes a big difference. So I know we harp on about this a lot, but Transport Evolved has not been doing well on YouTube of late because YouTube has been promoting shorts, and we don't make many shorts. We made 2 yesterday, but we don't make many shorts. And the consequence of that is that it means that we have dropping ad revenue because people are paying less for ads because there's a recession expected. If companies pay less for ads, that means Transport Evolved gets less money from the ads that are placed on our videos, and our income suffers. So by supporting us on Patreon, you are allowing us to continue to make great content. You can join from as little as $1 a month. There are multiple levels.
Levels, I think, is the way to.
So the first one is called electrons, because electrons are essential.
Mm-hmm.
Without them, we would not have cool things.
Anything. We wouldn't have anything.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have plugged in. So if you've plugged in, you've started to charge. That is the $5 a month tier. And then and you'll get access to a special Discord server that you can join and chat to the team there. Then there's Charged Up. If you are a Charged Up member from $15 a month, you get your name in the scrollies on the right-hand side of the screen at the end of our normal pre-recorded videos. And then the Charged Up, obviously, you've plugged in, you've charged up, you're ready to go. Those are from $15 a month. Now, we changed the top two tiers. The next tier up is now called V to G. Why did we change it, Kate?
Previously, our names were strongly associated with Tesla, and more particularly with Elon Musk. And there are many other automakers out there now, so perhaps that's one reason that we could think about, is that we were reflecting change in the industry, but also reflecting a change in attitudes from Elon Musk.
Right. So instead of calling it self-driving, we then went to V to G, because we think vehicle to grid is going to be a big thing.
It's such an enormous possibility.
And we can make a whole live stream right now about V2G and about how the industry, vehicle to grid is really going to help us eliminate peaker power plants. And peaker power plants are often not the greatest for the environment, because peaker power plants are built not to be as efficient as possible, but to be able to spin up and generate power as quickly as possible on demand. And so they're not always the best from an environmental point of view. So V2G is $50 a month. And then for that, you get your name read out by us on screen.
Sometimes badly. And when I'm doing, pre-editing, there's often 3 or 4 takes. So your name is being read out more than once.
That's an interesting way of promoting it, Kate. I think that's maybe a cool thing. I apologize for the growl there. We're not going to have that on stream today, Miss Sky. She's still at that point where she's got too much energy, and she wants very much to play with her brother, and she likes to do it when I'm on stream. It's like she knows, don't you? Yes. And then the top tier supporters, they used to be called Starmen or Starmens, and now they're called off-grid, because in today's modern EV world, if you are capable of, or today's clean energy and green living world, if you are completely off-grid, if you're able to sustain your needs using power that you generate yourself, that you store, that's the ultimate goal, I think, for many of us. Certainly, I would love to be off-grid. So that is the top tier. Now, the exciting thing here is that if you sign up for the Charged Up, the V2G, or the off-grid today in this stream right now, you get 7 days before. It's basically like a free trial. And that means you get access to our Patreon live stream, which is going to be scheduled for next Thursday. So you'll be able to enjoy that before you have to start paying. You also will get access to the Discord chat room for the top tier supporters for the next 7 days. You can choose to see if this is, are we worthy of your support? And we're going to try. We're going to tweak a few things. We're going to try and do some more behind the scenes vloggy stuff. What we won't do is create Patreon only video content, because it's core to our belief that Patreon, while a great way of supporting this channel, should not be a barrier to the information that we make.
No.
We're effectively news, a little bit of entertainment now and then. Quite a lot of entertainment if you're Kate. She's funnier than I am. And then
I would say it's the other way around, but there you go.
And then I think we both think the other is funnier. Let's just leave it at that. And then from that point onwards, we then make sure that everybody gets access to the information rather than putting it behind a paywall. What was this? Now you have one reason for me not to go to a higher tier on Patreon. I do not want you to break your vocal cord on my last name. Do you want to have a go, Kate?
No, not really.
It's Swedish, I assume.
I'm guessing Swedish.
I'm going to have a... No, it might be Danish.
It's so long because I stopped doing Norwegian and switched to Portuguese. So my stab at it would be terrible.
Are we both mentally in a better place today versus a few months ago? To me, both of you seem to have moved forward to a better place. I don't want to talk to Kate or talk for Kate. I want to talk to Kate.
No, she never wants to talk to me. We actually don't talk at all when we're not here. Hate each other.
We were actually talking about this off camera yesterday when we were chase car driving. One of the things we generally do when we film is we do chase car shots first, and we get a chance to kind of talk about how we feel about the car. Yesterday, it was kind of quite easy. Kate let me know fairly early on what she thought of the car.
Loved it.
So, you know, we're driving basically 40 miles with a chase car in front, and we're concentrating on chase car driving. So the conversation is not super deep, but I personally have had ups and downs. I suffer from depression. I don't mind admitting it. And I can't take anything for it. Because of my heart condition, I have long QT syndrome, and most antidepressants actually are dangerous. If you have long QT syndrome, they can prolong your QT interval beyond what it already is, which is long, and that can cause you some significant issues. So I have been... One of the reasons why I've been really delving into gardening of late is that it's something I get a lot of joy from. It reminds me of my childhood, and that's a way I've been coping. My mental health is always better when I work less, which is the other reason why I've recently decided to switch how we film on a Thursday. Instead of filming on a Friday for 10, which we used to film on Friday and do the whole show from scratch to finish over a Friday, just me. And I think you did it once on a Thursday in that same...
I think I filmed like late on Wednesday and then... Yeah, and then punted it out Thursday. Oh, that was rough.
And that, you know, it's really a 2-day production to do. And so that was getting to me. And I don't mind admitting, you know, Saturday morning, I went to sleep at 2 a.m. I had filmed on Thursday, but then on Friday we had issues with our computer, and I just couldn't edit it. There's a new bug that's appeared in the latest version of Final Cut Pro, and you can bet a huge amount of money that whenever there is a new video editor update, we will find bugs in Final Cut Pro, and we will find bugs in DaVinci Resolve. Those are our 2 editing programs we use. Michael invariably sits at his desk and swears loudly every time DaVinci updates, because there's invariably a new bug that's appeared, even if the old ones get fixed.
And a different bug that you don't know how to fix.
And it updated on Thursday evening, so I didn't have a chance to test out Final Cut Pro until Friday, and then this new bug just randomly appeared that would just cut the background out of the virtual studio. And so I had to really come up with some weird adjustments to make sure that worked. But yeah, it made my mental health very poor. But yes, in general, I think my mental health is better, although I am very, very concerned about my future in the United States, my future as a person, an out proud person, a member of the queer community. And that's how I view things right now. So I've been like, am I going to have to move? Am I going to have to leave the country? Am I going to have to do all these other things? As it stands right now, I live in one of the best states in the US for LGBTQ rights. We have an openly queer governor. We have a very progressive government here in Oregon who are working hard to try and make sure that people like us are safe to live here. But that doesn't mean that we're, so there's a lot going on in the background. I'd hate to say that, yeah, my mental health is better, period. I'm dealing with the hate a lot better. Somebody actually posted over the weekend, there was a comment that was deleted because it made a reference to something. It used a keyword that Hitler used to use in reference to his treatment of people he deemed subhuman. I don't want to delve any more into that because there is a court case going on today in Pennsylvania that ties in with that. But they use that phrase. I think it was in reference to you, Kate.
Yeah, you said it was in reference to me. I was slightly sad because I like seeing those comments, not in the sense of I enjoy them, but I get a visceral pleasure from being like, no, you're done. So
yeah. And we've kind of, for the most part, we've stopped moderating comments, but we are still having to plow through them. Thank you, James Gassor. Thank you for becoming a new patron at the, I believe, at the charged up level. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, we still leave the comments up. The comments are problematic. But the reason we now leave them up is because when we were moderating them, we had a bunch of people going, you're not getting hateful comments. Stop worrying. Stop complaining. It's all in your head kind of thing. And so we're like, no, we're just going to leave them up. There is one particular person who seems to spend an inordinate amount of time telling us how terrible we are and seems to enjoy it. So, if he gets his jollies off doing it,
yes,
I guess he's bugging us and nobody else. But yeah, so I think that's probably where I'm at, Kate. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I mean, I think my mental health is pretty variable. I have good days and bad days. When I look at the news, that tends to be a worse day at the moment. Although occasionally there's good things. Washington passed a law fairly recently that is protective to people like us. It also, my other job, my nursing, has been rough since the start of COVID. It has got less rough recently, but it's not, it's not enormous fun in the way that I used to enjoy it. I don't enjoy it anymore. I'm just tired. It's very wearing. And the joke about me learning Portuguese is that I learn Portuguese because that's where we're going to run to. Yeah, and it's kind of a bleak black humor. And I'm going to be honest, black humor is what I do. It's, it's Trek jokes or sci-fi jokes and yeah, really, really dark jokes that I don't share in the videos.
I was very disappointed that we didn't get to do the live stream when we'd originally planned, because I was going to ask you to bring a towel. It was towel day, and I'd planned, hey, we'll do a live stream, we'll get us both in with a towel. And then we talked to the team and we decided releasing a video and doing a live stream in a single day was a bad idea. But we both have different coping strategies. You've kind of got back into retro computing. I'm into retro computing. You like your gardening and your house stuff.
Well, it's not so much that I like the house stuff. It's, that's more of a, we didn't have the money.
Something, yeah, and you made something cool with it as well.
Yeah, we made something cool. And the other thing is, I'm going to be blunt. My wife and I look at it and we're like, well, we might have to sell and leave. And it's very hard to sell and leave if you've got a house without trim.
Right.
As you can see behind me, there's trim missing. And so getting that done,
yeah,
it's part of my protective if we have to leave, this has to be finished for
Yes.
us to get some money for it and be able to leave.
You see, for me, I don't really want to spend the entire live stream talking about it, but I think this is important. This is a question that was asked, right? For me, I regularly have nightmares about people banging down our door. And, you know, I have met people locally who have given me a hard time, who have tried to gaslight me and do other stuff. And I've been threatened. I mean, somebody came up to me the other day to talk to me while I was out and about, and they had a gun strapped to their thigh. And I was like, okay, act completely like in my head, there's this little voice going, do not be queer, do not be queer, do not be queer, because they had a tattoo on them that I was pretty convinced was a right-wing neo-Nazi tattoo. And I'm like, I'm just going to be really polite, and then I'm going to disappear very quickly. There is nothing more scary than that, I think. Just trying to exist in a world where you know that the majority of people are wonderful, but the majority of people do not understand what's going on, and therefore they don't know or care. And if you bring it up, they then have a complaint at you. So for me, living here in the country, I'm lucky. My neighbors are really nice. They just kind of generally just keep themselves to themselves, ditto all around. And we're in the country, but we're at that kind of interface between people who live in the country and would rather not have any liberal people anywhere near them, and the liberal people who can afford to live out in the country. And we're right on the interface between those two, in a safe space. We've invested so much money into this house, though. We flood wired the house when we bought it. We put in solar panels. We put in heat pumps. We've put in, the chicken coop and done the garden and all these other things. So I think if we had to leave in a hurry, we would lose a large amount of money. And while I'm on the subject, someone was like, oh, it doesn't sound like you're paying yourself minimum wage because you've got a big house in the country. And the answer, how we can afford that, is my wife also has a job. She gets paid a whole lot more than I do. I wouldn't say she's on a high paying job, but she does well. And the only reason why I own this house is because I lost somebody dear to me who left me some money in their will.
It's the same here.
And it's unfortunately it's a sad result of being a Gen X, is that a lot of queer Gen Xers, certainly, I think if you're cishet and you didn't have to go through transition or anything as a trans person, you might have a slightly different outlook. But I know most trans Gen Xers that I know only have a house if they inherited some money that allowed them to play catch up to their cishet pairs. And that's definitely what happened in my case, because I lost someone who was very dear to me, and they allowed me to pay off my student loans. And we had a bonus from my partner's job that came in at just the right time. And we were able to buy a house that had been sat on the market for, I think, over a year. And the people were getting desperate, and we bought it at the right time of the year, i.e. we made an offer in January when there was snow on the ground. We moved in May. The other thing that keeps my sanity is that this young lady, my fursuit's persona, as it will, she gives me a lot of strength, because if I'm having a really bad day, I'm just saying, well, what would Queenie do? And she'd probably down a gin. I hate gin. She loves the stuff. Never play a character that loves something that you hate, because people come up to you and try and give you gin. I've had to politely accept gin at events and then pass it on to someone else. Anyway, that's enough of the personal stuff. Love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy references. We try, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you've put a Hitchhiker Guide. You didn't put one in your Kia video, did you?
No, that was that. I felt bad about that, because someone was like, I missed the references. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I was dying It was like 30-something degrees in the shade.
Right.
And I made the foolish decision to film outside. And I went and I sort of started and I was like, oh, I have made an error. Let's get this done and go back to the nice house where it's cool and shady. So, yes, sorry. But yes, I like to put them in. They amuse me.
I mean, this is the reality, right? Our son and his partners are now looking abroad for my son's PhD program. Trans people need defenders now more than ever. I'm worried how to help them financially. Just make sure they have a safe space, I think is probably the best way of putting it. We make sure that is a better way. Speaking of the house, how is your water system doing? I had to really double check that because it's pure gb. It's kind of a portmanteau of your name, your on-screen name, my wife's initials, sort of, but then it's all munged around and my brain just went, I don't know that. How's my water system doing? The water system, good news. So it turns out that it was a capacitor on the well pump. At least we think so. It took the best part of 3 days to fill the well back up, or the reservoir. So for those who don't know, our well system, we have off-grid water, we have off-grid sewerage, so we have a septic tank and a well. And last Wednesday, when they came and they were working on the Ford home integration system, they had to do some tests to see if the load on the well was okay. And I think they may have just pushed a capacitor that was already on its way out over the edge to the point that the well stopped pumping. And a Michael has just arrived. Yay. So this well, the capacitor in the well, it controls the pump that pumps the water out from the ground into a large reservoir. And then we have a secondary pump, which goes from the reservoir to the house. And the reservoir pump broke in January, and we replaced that with a nice new one. The well pump, which is less strained, but it's supposed to run every half an hour, and it just basically pumps water out of the ground into the reservoir to help us keep our water pressure good. And I think it's about a 2,000 gallon tank, US gallon. And it had gone completely bone dry. And so the well guys came out, they replaced the capacitor, and then we've slowly watched it go up. I actually took the top of the cover off this morning, and the float for the first time in ages, instead of being like that, is like that. It's floating, which is good. It means the well is full. So right now I'm watering some of my garden. So it was probably just a couple of $100 worth of repair as opposed to several thousand, which is what I feared it would have been. Which CPUs is Kate wearing today? They look like Intel. They 486? No.
Disgusting.
What are they?
These are strong arms. Sadly, they're not digital strong arms because I don't have. I mean, it would hurt me slightly to ruin a pair of Intel strong arms, but these are digital strong arms. But these are Intel. I think they're 233 megahertz. So
yeah,
the machine that they would go in is up in the attic.
Yes.
That also has a 233 megahertz strong arm in it.
If someone was to give Nikki a gin and you do not like it, what shall the offer be then? Ooh. So I'm a real fan of rum. I quite like rum, and I quite like rum. At Christmas time. I will have a Bailey's Irish cream, but rum generally does the thing. I also like cider. Cider is a big thing of me. You're a gin. You don't mind gin, do you?
I like gin, particularly slow gin. In fact, we have it's not a slow. I forgot what it is. It's the Pacific Northwest equivalent to a slow, and we have some in the freezer ready to make slow gin, and we have some gin to put them in, but never got around to it.
Yeah, gin has grown on me a little bit, but I find it quite bitter.
I mean, I'm with Dylan Warren, which is the best place to drink gin is while you're sitting crying on the stairs.
But you don't have any stairs in your house.
I know, I'd have to sit on the front step.
Yeah. So, do I like Kraken rum? Yeah, in fact, the last bottle of rum that I have was a gift from Erin. She gave me some Kraken rum. And because I have my own chickens, and because there is a local dairy farm up the road that treats its cows well and doesn't have like 1,000 cows in a small field that's just full of mud, which is what you see in Southern California, they have really good milk that's non-homogenized, so it's easier for digestion. And I make rum and raisin ice cream from time to time at home using fresh eggs and fresh milk. Strongbow, yeah. Strongbow is from the UK. Apparently aviation gin is made in Oregon.
Yeah, don't drink Strongbow, it's dreadful. Please don't.
No, I like Swedish ciders actually.
Yeah.
Like the chocolate bars and
I like really really dry cider. It's quite hard to get here, but in Olympia there's a brewery that makes really nice dry ciders.
I knew the logo was somewhat familiar. I designed stuff around strong arms in the early noughties. There you go.
We steal this. I got this off the internet as well.
That's cool.
It's a slate strong arm.
That is very cool. See, I don't have anything as fancy, but I do have this. And if you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it is. It's around here somewhere. It may have been moved by a dog, but I have a pie. I have I have a special Rascuzzy.
Oh.
So for those who don't know, this allows you. This is so it's a Raspberry Pi, and I'm not buying any more Raspberry Pis. I just want to reiterate that.
I might buy used ones.
I might buy used one. I don't really want to support Raspberry. After the incident, and this is my personal, not the view of Transport Evolved. So this has got this is quite a monster. So this used to be my chicken pie. So it used to be the Raspberry Pi that lived in the chicken coop. Now it's got, actually no, this used to be my 3D printer one. The one that used to be in the chicken coop is now the Mastodon server for Transport Evolved, of all things. But this has got a little SSD on the bottom. I don't know if you can see it right down there. It's a little SSD. And then this is the main Raspberry Pi. And then on top of it, in the hat position, is a SCSI interface. So an old 25-pin SCSI. And this allows me to boot old Macs, classic Macs with SCSI, and have virtual disk images on a little SD card, or in this case, on the actual on the SSD. You can either put it on an SD card or on the SSD, and it allows you to store virtual disk images, because all of those SCSI hard drives are starting to die, and so that's an important way of being able to keep your machines running without having to worry about that.
It is awesome. Like, I love all the things people are creating to keep stuff going, because a few years ago, I gave away my Ethernet file store. Quite a few years ago, about 10. I had an Ethernet EOS 1 that I picked up from university when they threw it in the trash. I was like, oh, no, I'm having that. And I gave it away. And then now I have the Acorn A4 laptop. And obviously I've got a BBC Master as well, and the RISC PC, and all of those can talk across Ethernet, but getting an Ethernet file store kind of hard. And yeah, the RISC PC could run as the server, but I can also just I just bought a little hat for a Raspberry Pi that I had lying around, and you plug it in, and now I have the equivalent of an EOS 1. Actually, the fancy EOS, the one with the hard disks.
So I have, as you know, I have a PowerBook 5300 that I need to rebuild. It stopped working, and I know that there's a couple of local YouTubers who work on vintage machines who are in, I think Adrian from Adrian's Digital Basements, based in Portland, and I was going to reach out to him and ask him if he'd be interested in helping me double check that, because I can solder. Like, if you give me a wire and another wire and say join these two wires together, I'm good at that. I can even do like breadboard soldering. I've even been known to do a little bit of repair on a graphics card and things like that. But if you want to go one step further and solder things smaller than that, no. I mean, so this used to be my server. This used to be my minerjourney.com server. And if those of you who watch, who follow my personal blog, will know that it's gone offline. And the reason it's gone offline is this died. And I had to basically try and replace the hard drive died in it. And I took the hard drive out and was putting it back together again. And then I managed to pull one of the surface mount connectors off the motherboard on this.
Oops.
So luckily it was a CD drive, not the disk drive, but I had another one of these because I have too many computers. And that's
yeah, I think
on the list.
Agree.
But the garden is the thing that's been really kind of tough and whatnot. Let's head back to the comments.
Oh yeah, I saw a quick question. Hang on a minute. Earlier than that. Oh, what did Raspberry do wrong? Because I feel like I should answer that.
All right.
So, very briefly, they hired a former police officer, not a problem, and then they publicized very heavily that he did a lot of work on covert surveillance and putting covert surveillance on things, putting them into people's houses. Also, to an extent, not a problem, but the way they chose to highlight it was an issue. And then the reaction that they had when people said, hey, particularly people who at the time in the UK had suffered abuse at the hands of people who had been police officers and abused their power as covert operatives. And this happened, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, around the time that some rather important breaking news happened around that. Yeah, the attitude of their social media team was not positive. And then it spiraled. And then to top it off, they've now recently said that they're going to be sharing the data from their AI system that they're building with a large corporation. And yeah, that's kind of sketch too. So, you know.
So everything that Kate, I think I do get to speak to you for you on this one. For the most part, we prefer to use open source stuff that has the ability to, you know, the exception being macOS, which you use under duress, and I use because we grew up in a family. I grew up in a family with no computer. Okay, so I was born in the late 70s. My parents didn't have a lot of money, and it was the 90s before we had a computer in the house, and that was one that my sister had purchased so that she could do her university work on. She was 15 years older than me, right? So her first computer was an Atari ST, and she spent a lot of money. It was over £1,000 on it. And she used that to do her coursework in a little dot matrix printer. It's a very, very early 90s when she got that. And then when she moved to college, she took it with her. I bought a Commodore C64 when I was 16. That was my gaming machine, and I tried to turn it into a computer. So that was late 90s. But I didn't really cut my teeth on computers until I was at high school in 1996. My high school... So I was at a different high school. So in the UK, you go the equivalent of, well, I guess you'd call it grades 9 through 12, right? In the UK, you have, certainly when I was growing up, I went primary school, middle school, and then I moved to a place where they had high schools but no middle schools. So I went high school. I joined high school early. My high school went into the age of 16. By which point in the UK you take your GCSEs. And it used to be, I don't think it's still the case, but it used to be at the age of 16, you could then leave school if you wanted. if you wanted to carry on and go to university, you had to do your A-levels. And A-levels were 3 subjects generally, although some people did 5. I think I did 3, but I cheated and I did 2 related A-levels. So I did physics, music, and music technology. And because the music and music technology degree A-levels were from different exam boards, there were 4 different parts to each A-level that I did in the music department. The music technology and the music A-level, 2 of the papers crossed over. So I effectively did 6 papers worth of work and got 2 A-levels out of it, and I got A's for both of them. The music technology performance paper was a walk in the park because the level of performance required for music technology was much, much lower than the performance level for A-level music. And I just got into music college. So I basically just literally walked in the room, played the thing, and walked back out again. And the examiner goes, "Are you done?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It was incredibly arrogant of me, but I still got an A. But I had my head of my music department. And like I say, I had to go from a different high school to a bigger high school. And I guess I can probably say this because I don't normally say this to places where I'm not out, but I guess you guys know I'm trans, right? So I was head boy of this high school, which I think no longer exists. It's the same high school that one of Rivian's people used to be at. And I didn't know this until I was talking to him at a car show a couple of years ago. So I was head boy. I was also one of the senior students in the 6th form. And back then in the late 90s, my head of department liked a lot of coffee. And I used to cycle to school. And so he gave me a full set of keys to the music department so I could get into the school and get into the music department and turn the coffee machine on in the morning. So I think I had 2 physics classes, maybe 4 physics classes a week. And the rest of the time I had music classes. And I just used to sing. I used to just sit in the music department, drink coffee, and play computer games. And in the holidays, the head of department would let me take home a Power Mac 7600 and just go home with it and like work on my coursework. Actually, I just went and played Marathon all weekend. The Marathon trilogy, which is why I'm very excited about Marathon coming back. Bungie's just announced that Marathon is returning. And Kate is still muted.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm still muted. I'm typing and my keyboard is very noisy.
So that was my kind of why I ended up getting into Macs. And of course, then I went to music college. Music college had a Macs. So I kind of started on Macs way back then. And when I went to music college, I used the knowledge that I gained in the 2 years previously to basically buy old Macs, fix them, and then sell them on.
This is a much more legal solution than mine.
What was yours?
Well, because so when I got to university, we had an Archimedes A440. That was mine. It was mine. So I cut my teeth. My very first computer that I got to use was my dad's Commodore PET that was a company machine because he worked for a company called Computer Technology Limited. You'll see me sometimes wearing T-shirts branded with that. And he was a processor designer and then went on to network engineering. But they had a machine they bought to evaluate it, and the company didn't want it anymore, so my dad took it home. So we had a Commodore 64, and we had a literal terminal with a dial-up modem that he would call into the work machines and work at home. And I would sit under the desk and he would be tapping away on the keyboard he hand built. So that was my introduction. And then from there we got BBC B, which my dad then massively upgraded. It had a hard disk with, I think, a capacity of 10 megabytes.
Dang.
God! And it had literally a stack of wire-wrapped boards about yay tall. Master A440/1 at the same time that I think they just started production of the RISC PC when we got the A440. It was secondhand. But when I went to university, I took my A440. I took my BBC Master first. And then, doing biochemistry, it's kind of hard to draw diagrams of molecules and things on a BBC Micro. So stepped up to the A440. And then my hard disk died right at the end of the first year, literally the night before I needed to hand something in. The cable, because I had an external hard drive, the cable came apart slightly and it just overwrote the drive contents with garbage.
Oh, no.
And I had to go in. I saw my professor. This was for an elective. So I went in for my computer programming elective and I was like, so I have a backup from about a month ago. And it was basically the code for some of it, and then just comments saying, insert this bit here. And he was like, he looked through it, and he was like, you can have an F. You can, I know, it was like a 40%. I got a 40%, which was enough to get me past, but nothing else. And my parents felt sorry for me, so they helped me buy a RISC PC, and I was super excited because I got a strong arm RISC PC. And then I upgraded it to have a CD writer.
Oh, wow.
And it's quite handy if you have a CD writer and you go to computer fairs in the 90s or late 90s, early thousands in England, because you can buy a stack of 50 CDs for a few pounds, and then you can charge people £1 a disc for backing things up for them.
Yes.
Which is much cheaper than backing them up elsewhere.
So it was 1998, and I just landed at music college. My first year was in the halls of residence, and I had my sister's old Atari that she gave me for my first year, and I was doing so badly, and it was embarrassing because it was like a 15-year-old computer at that point or 10-year-old computer at that point when everyone else was using iMacs and things. So I actually replaced it with a PowerBook 100 that I purchased off of through the Mac format classifieds. It worked for about a year and then it died. But I had a Power Mac that I acquired, and I did the same thing. I just kept upgrading it. And that's how I met my wife. So my wife and I met online, and we just used to chat lots and lots and lots and lots. And on ICQ. Do you remember ICQ?
Yes.
But my parents bought almost immediately after I left to go to university. My parents bought an iMac, and I just remember just going, "What? All these years I wasn't allowed a computer, and now I've gone. You're buying your computer." So they could email me and keep up. They could keep in contact with me. The first Christmas that we came home, my sister Susan and I, we did a RAM upgrade, and apparently we really freaked my dad out because it was the most expensive thing he'd ever purchased, other than a car, and he always had to purchase cars used. So there's the first new thing that he'd spent that much money on, and we were there, carefully taking the back of the iMac apart. The first generation iMac wasn't particularly well built, and just trying to peel things off and get screws out to put memory in. And my mum still talks about it today. But when I was in college, the other way I made money was I bought a mini disc and a microphone, and I would go and sit in my classmates' recitals and record them and charge them money to record their recital. Then I would go to because I've always been an early riser. I would get up really early, cross the street into the studio in the music college. I would go down into the basement where the computer lab was, and I used to record. I offloaded those recordings, digitized them using college equipment. I don't think anybody realized I did this with a stack of CDRs. And I would make CDs of their performances so they could send them home to their friends and family. That's how I used to do it. All right, let's talk more about EVs. Anyone check out the new 9-box Max G2 electric kick scooter? I have not. the 9bot Max G2 is a scooter that I have not spent a lot of time with. I would love to review one. I think we should probably talk about our relationship with reviews, because I think this is evolved slightly from the last time we chatted. I have my electric scooter, the one I ride regularly. I have a very powerful electric scooter that was actually a review unit that we got a couple of years ago. The Varlet Eagle one. We blew a motor on it, and there's actually a live stream on this channel about when I replaced the motor. Replaced the controller and put that on. I now need to replace the motor because the rear motor is not 100% happy. But I rode it a couple of weeks ago. I rode it like 15, 16 miles down into town. I rode it at legal speeds. It's one of those scooters that's technically not legal if you ride it in off-road mode. But I was riding it in on-road mode, so it had a maximum speed of like 15, 20 miles an hour, and it had less than 1,000 watts. So when it's in rear-wheel drive, I'm like, I'm okay with riding this on the road. But yeah, I prefer electric bikes, I will say, because you can pedal them as well, and they're a lot safer. But we've been having some issues recently with reviews, and I just want to highlight something here, and probably this is going to be a bit professional suicide, but hey, let's do it. So we've talked on the channel before about how companies reach out and pitch the idea of, hey, will you review this? We'll pay you money to review it. You have to sign a contract, and when you sign a contract, you have to say, yeah, I'll give you preview of the content. If you don't like it, we'll change it. We've never done that, ever. Yeah. The only times that we let a company see something before we publish it is when we are somewhere where there is a potential legal implication of us not doing that. So we recently went to WAE Technologies in the UK. There's 2 more videos to come out from that tour. All of those videos, WAE Technologies has had someone from the company go, okay, we're happy with the footage that you've used, but they haven't changed what we've said.
They have no editorial control. It's just
right. It's like, this image at this point in this image, in the background of this shot, we can see this, which is a private top secret project that we're working on with a client. We can't let you see that. That's basically how we've done that. But for the most part, we don't do anything that lets anybody have any kind of preview. They see it when you see it. When the Patreon supporters see it, they see it. And when it comes to reviews, we get people reaching out all the time going, hey, we'll send you a product for review. You can put an affiliate code on your website. Everybody can get a discount. You can get some money from it. Now, that would be a really easy way for us to earn money. And by the way, if you want to support Transport Evolved, patreon.com/Transport Evolved. And don't forget, we are now doing our 1-week trials. You get to try out the tier that you select for a week before you pay if you opt for a higher level on the tier. So we have emails on a daily basis from companies, very often in China, going, hey, we would like to send your product to test. And you go, okay, and you talk to them, and they basically give you huge amounts of requirements, and they give you a huge long talking list that you have to, say all these things. And we've always pushed back and gone, no, we're not signing anything, and no, we're not going through your talking point. Yeah. If you want us to do an unboxing and we'll test it and give our opinion, that's fine. But we're not going to do anything else.
Yeah, it'll be our opinion. It
will be our opinion. So we have one bike downstairs in my house that is still in a box that was sent to us a couple of months ago. It's a review. We've promised them that we will review it. We did not pay. They were not paid for the review. They've obviously sent us a bike to test, and generally we get to keep the bike or hand it on to someone else. But that's it. There's nothing else. There's no kind of editorial control that we give them or anything like that. But lately, companies have been getting really greedy. They've been sending, hey, we want you to do this, 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 and this, and then we want you to do this. And when you say, okay, I'm open to the idea, they then bombard you with emails. I've had one particular company send me emails multiple times an hour to try and get an agreement to do a review. And they very often are like, hey, we'll send you the product and then we want you to publish the review this day. And you look at the calendar and you're like, if the product arrives then and you want me to publish a review on this day, backtrack it. It means I have to film it the day after it arrives. I'm not doing that. I'm just not. That's not enough time for us to get a proper opinion of something. But the real nail in the coffin occurred this week. There's one company that we've worked with previously who gave us a product to test, who made some claims of the product that we've since gone, actually, that's not, we don't see how what you say is possible. And they've turned around and gone, wait. And you heard back from one of the companies recently. We're going to be making an update video on it, right? I don't want to kind of name the company at this point, but it was a company that sent something to us to test that made a big claim. We covered it in the video and said, hey, they say you can do this, and you've been trying to figure out how to do the thing that they say is possible. And there is an update coming, but I don't want to go any further than that. But that was the first kind of, why do we have to do this? This is not good. And then the next thing is one company that we've worked with in the past and reviewed a product of has been hounding us with introductory videos like we are brand new to them, like we've never worked with them before, including the same person that we talked with, going, hey, we want to send you this thing, this new and exciting thing. Why don't you review this thing? And one of the videos, one of the things they're trying to get us to review is something we've already reviewed. I think I don't mind saying the name of that company. Do you think that that's okay, right?
Probably.
I feel like I feel like it's fair. I think it's fair to say. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right company here. Electron. Electron have reached out to us in the last couple of weeks, and we've been getting like multiple emails a week from Electron, behaving like we've never done any reviews for them before, and that worries me. I mean, I don't expect them to remember every single person that they've sent a unit to review. But when a company like Electron reaches out and goes, hey, we'd like you to do a review, you're like, but honestly, we've already said the name of the company.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem.
I don't think it's the problem. I just think it's worth noting that if a company reacts to you and treats you as if you've never met before and sends you out an interview, it kind of makes you think, okay, you really don't care about who we are, and our review had so little impact on you. You just want to make money from us, and that's a really bad taste in my mouth. That's just how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel about it, Kate.
I think it depends. Like if it's what we sometimes get, what we get quite a lot of is from marketing companies. So particularly companies in China have like another company that they farm out the please review this unit, and you'll get the same email basically, or the same content from like 2 or 3 different marketing companies saying this product needs review. In fact, actually, we had one of the things we reviewed a while back, which was an e-bike. While we were in the process of organizing the review, we got an email from their marketing company that they'd hired saying, hey, we want you to review this bike. And I was like, we're already working with the company to review it. So I think if that changes and, you get it and you're like, oh, hey, it's some other company that is doing the outreach and saying, won't you review this? We'd love you to review this. Then I'm less bothered about it. Then I'm like, you've hired a different company to do this, or you're using a different person at the company is doing it. Then I'm much less bothered. But it is slightly disconcerting when you get emails from people that reach out and they're like, oh, it's great to meet you. We've watched some of your videos and we're really pleased. They really fit with our product line. And you're like, yeah, we do really fit with your product line. We reviewed this thing that you're asking us to review again. So that leaves a bit of that feels a bit distasteful. And Nikki's muted.
Sorry, I'd muted myself there. I mean, I think that is exactly how
Yeah, just upload the same video again. I like that.
Marketing, or they are using AI to spam you, maybe. But when it comes to a point where a company kind of just keeps reaching out, you're like, So we just got an email this morning from a company in an adjacent industry who's offering us a potential review, from a UK company, from a UK PR person from a company that we've tried to work with in the past and not had any success with. So I'm like, it was a UK press person, and I'm like, yeah, let's work. Let's talk about doing a review. We don't want any affiliate links or anything like that. We'll see what they say. Sometimes it's a cultural difference, right? So if you can latch on to a local PR person, sometimes it can actually be quite useful. Let ChatGPT do the review if they don't care and are waiving cash. And we actually asked ChatGPT to come up with some video ideas for Transport Evolved recently, and they were all terrible. They really were absolutely horrendous. But we do have some cool videos coming, don't we, Kate?
Do we make videos?
I don't know if you've got anything in the pipeline. I think all of your videos have been published.
People keep telling us we don't make videos anymore. So yes, we have. What have I got on my plate now? Gosh. So I am doing some research at the moment about the challenges with self-driving and why that has turned out to be a much more difficult problem than, shall we say, coming next year implies.
Yeah.
That, the first 80 to 90% is relatively easy, but that last 10%, which is the 10% that takes you to being at least as good as a human driver, is really, really hard. So we thought we'd make a video discussing that, particularly in light of Elon Musk saying that the next version, the next major release of FSD is reserved for when they do end-to-end, which we both now have a system in our car which can do end-to-end driving. And it is a wild ride.
It is a very wild ride.
Oh, yeah. What? Stop at a light? Or should we just drive through it? That's exciting. Should we go around this corner, or should we go over there? That's great, too.
So the Comma AI has two modes, and I feel like OpenPilot, has two modes. So OpenPilot has the standard lane keep assist and radar-assisted cruise control. That is very competent.
Which is also end-to-end, but it's end-to-end in an isolated, like they're isolating, we're doing left and right, and not anything else.
Right. And then there's the experimental alpha mode, which it warns you is very much experimental. And it's like being driven by a 15-year-old who's just got behind the wheel for the first time. I had it in experimental mode the other day down in my local town, and I nearly said the town name, which would have been bad. There's a town near me where you go over a railroad crossing and then there's a junction. So you go over the railway crossing and then there's a stop sign, and the car came up to the stop sign. There was nobody coming, so it accelerated out and it made the Bolt's wheels spin. Now, if you can, anybody who owns a Chevrolet Bolt, an early Chevrolet Bolt, knows that in order to get the wheels to spin, you really have to plant your right foot to the ground.
Which is particularly hilarious because when I've driven with the Nero in the end-to-end mode, it's rarely gone above about 17 miles an hour. And I'm in a 25, and it says that the limit is 35, which is incorrect data it's pulling from the Open Maps. But yeah, I'm like, he's not 35.
No.
First of all, it's 25. And why are we traveling at 12 to 17 miles an hour?
So I have an opinion about this that I kind of want to share. I think what's happening with the alpha mode is it's relying on its sensors a huge amount. And if it can't see the road a certain distance ahead, it then slows down really, really badly. So on some of my local roads around here, alpha slows down to 12 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
So I tend not to use alpha. I tend to use the regular mode and then cooperatively drive with it. If you have the regular mode, it does hands-off driving on the freeway. It does hands-off driving on roads around here. You just have to make sure that you're ready to help it through some of the tighter corners.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, I just updated the software on when I use Sunny Pilot, and yesterday is, I think, the first time it has nearly made it all the way down your hill without any input. It got close. It had my hand on the wheel a few times, and then towards the bottom, I was like, no, we're not making that corner at 60. That's not happening. Even I'm not trying that corner at 60.
Right, exactly. So I cannot wait to try out Open Pilot in the Ford. I think if Ford starts charging for Blue Cruise, which I think is what it's going to do, I think we're just going to put a comma system in there and use that. I was towing some soil, some compost yesterday, or as Americans like to call it, dirt, up the hill from a local compost seller in town, and I'm coming up the hill and I'm thinking, really interesting to see how Open Pilot would handle this, because it would have extra weight on the back and that affects the vehicle dynamics. I'm like, how would you program a car for semi-autonomous operation with a trailer on the back? It's really interesting to do. Jesper says, I'd be happy with more sponsorships as long as I clearly market as such. Got to bring in that cash. Of course, more patrons would be better. Yes. More patrons would be better. I would really like to increase our Patreon support. I know it's a really difficult time financially for many, many people. We are still at a point where we are just about to pay everybody's salary off of that, but it would be good if we could increase it, because I would like to be able to be paid also, just because it's nice. We've currently got 1,584 patrons. I would love to see us reach 2,000 patrons, and there's a reason for that, because if everybody who joined, those extra people joined, just paid $1 a month, so it's $12 a year. It's actually $10 a year if you pay by year. You would help us increase our salaries for everybody on the team. Well, not increase everybody's salary, but increase the amount of money we have to pay everybody's salary. And that means I can actually start paying myself. I'd take $500 a month, because that's more than I've been paying myself for the last couple of months. But all jokes aside, we also need to, we're going to be working on this thing here. So we talked about this to Patreon supporters, but we haven't talked about this, I don't think, publicly yet. Have we talked about this in a live stream?
Not when I've been on.
So
I'm not on very often. So
we're going to do a sponsor your hard drive thing, right? So these are our 12 terabyte hard drives that we just removed from Kennedy, which is our main Transport Evolved server. Now, Kennedy also needs a new network card because it keeps dropping the connection, which is a pain in the butt for Michael and a pain in the butt for me. But our goal is to replace the 12 terabyte drives in our 45 drives server with 20 and 22 terabyte drives to give us a bit more space. We also need to raise the funds to build a tape drive backup system. We do not have the bandwidth here to back stuff up online because I am in the middle of nowhere, and Kate doesn't have the bandwidth where you are either.
Oh, I have the bandwidth. It's just it wouldn't really help.
No, because you'd have all the data instead of me, and then we'd have to run up to you every week and literally sneak and stuff.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, what I need is a backup of the stuff that my array is not anywhere near the size of the main one. It has the videos that I use fairly frequently, and the B-roll that I use frequently. And
I'm just laughing at the Esprit first 75. Come on, Nikki, you're just in it for the cause. Yeah, I generally am, but I would also like to be able to pay my bills. Sorry, carry on.
That's right. And so backing it up would be fine, and yeah, sure. Like, a lot of the costs come when you need to pull data off that backup. That's how Amazon does it. It's like it's cheap up front, or Google. It's cheap up front, but when you want to pull commercial data back off, they're like, yes, we have a nice bill for you here. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really that doesn't really fix our problem. And also, my backup problem is an order of magnitude smaller than Nikki's. Like mine can be built with a few drives in a RAID array, and me running stuff down there every so often. Take the RAID array down, and we'll copy data off it onto the main server. But the one in the main studio is that's not happening.
So these, I'm going to show you these now. And if I'm pulling funny faces, it's... So yesterday, after we finished filming the review, we finished early and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and get some soil for my garden so I can finish my greenhouse this weekend, because I'm going to be in LA tomorrow and Friday. So I'm not going to be able to go to the store and pick up the soil before the weekend. So yesterday and today were the only days I can do it. And I picked up 2.5 cubic yards of compost, 1.5 in the back of the truck, 1 in the trailer. And I basically moved 2 cubic yards of compost by hand yesterday, which is about a ton, a US ton. So this shoulder really hurts. So these are the first 5 drives to come out of the server, and they've been replaced by 20 terabyte drives. We currently have just under half a petabyte. We need slightly more than that in our server. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start selling these off. They still work, but we're going to make you a little plaque to say, hey, this was in the Transport Evolved server. We're going to sell them off at their replacement cost. So you are effectively not getting a great deal because you're getting an older drive for less than the cost of for about the same or close to the cost of the replacement drive. But it allows us to recycle these hard drives. You can use one in your machine if you want. These are enterprise grade drives. They have I think they're warranted for 5 years. So this one is just out of its warranty. It was new in 2018 and it's now 2023. But we're going to send these to you and they will work for those who want to buy one. We'll use the money that you send us.
They were removed from a working machine.
Yes, they were removed from a working machine. That's a better way of putting it. Thank you, Kate. They may
making
not
no promises after
that. But they're SATA drives, right? So they're not like SAS or anything like that. They're just SATA drives. They're good SAS drives. Good SATA drives. You can use it in your machine if you want, or you can just put it on display somewhere. And this is basically comes with a plaque that says, hey, this is you're supporting Transport Evolved, and a replacement drive of this capacity was put in Kennedy on your behalf. Thank you, from the team, and we'll sign it all. So it's more of a recycle and reuse kind of thing. And then if you do buy one and you use it, we'd love to know what you use it for, as long as it's legal. Mean time before failure. I cannot remember. It's pretty high. I think it's pretty high on those drives. The only reason why we are replacing them is because we need larger drives, not because they are fails.
Also, they come out of a nicely kept, they come out of a server which is in an air-conditioned room.
It's air-conditioned now. It wasn't for the first 3 years of its life.
But it's better than my media server, which lives up in our attic and hits 50 degrees up there.
Yeah, so the temperature in the server room right now, let me look it up. I'm going to bring up Home Assistant. So for those who don't know, we have a separate air conditioning unit just for our server room, which when we sell the house, if we ever sell the house, if we have to leave the country and we have to sell the house, it's going to be such an interesting report. So the temperature in our server room right now is 18.5 degrees Celsius. Were these drives ever yelled at?
No.
These? Many times.
But no, she didn't do the going and screaming in the server, if that's what you're referring to.
No.
We don't do that to test the data, the impact on the data rate.
I ran Usenet News, so I know MTBF too many times. Yeah. I mean, it's honestly these would be drives that would be sending out to people kind of as a memento of them supporting the channel, more than, hey, this is a drive you can use. But if you want to use it, you should be able to. is the important word here. So we've got 5 12 terabyte drives here. There's another 20 of these in the server that need to be replaced. So 25 12 terabyte drives up for grabs. I can't remember what we said the price of these were going to be, but somewhere around $350.
Yeah, I think to cover shipping.
Unfortunately, it's probably not going to work if you're abroad, but it's definitely going to work if you are in the US or Canada. It should be fairly easy to ship them. We will bubble wrap them and we'll put them in a box and send them. And you can then say you have a bit of the Transport Evolved server. So they all have the dates on them. So this one has retired from Kennedy, May 2023. Okay. In my scroll, my Sharpie scroll. And we'll have to remove them from our inventory. That is how we do it. I knew that Kate would know the ref, says Marcus. Yes. Yes. So what projects are we working on? Are we going to tell you? And then we got sidetracked.
yeah,
All right. So
battery chemistry, that's the other one that I'm sort of working on. And we have a big project that's still kind of ongoing, looking at charger placement and how that's done. And
the words that drive fear into every do I say the word? No, I'm not going to say the word. If you know me, you know that there's an alternative word that I would normally use here. Every extreme right-wing politician. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Diversity, inclusion, and equity.
Yes. So yeah, there was an article which looked at Axios article that looked at charger placement compared to the population around the charger. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And
so we'll be doing that.
Really cool.
We're also coming up on the Trello board this week. So it depends how today goes. So tomorrow, Michael and I are heading off to LA for the Volkswagen ID Buzz. We got an email yesterday from Volkswagen with embargoed information in it. I can't tell you anything about it yet. I genuinely cannot tell you if it's good or bad. I couldn't, even if I could, but I should let you know that the email arrived while I was filming. So I haven't actually watched or read any of the information they've sent us. So they've sent us B-roll, they've sent us other stuff, and that's it. That's literally all I can tell you.
You can say that you're going to look at a Volkswagen product.
Yeah, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So that is good. And we will see if we can do that. So that's on the cards for today. I'll look through that and then we'll plan that. We're going to go tomorrow and we'll be back on Friday. That does mean that 10 is going to not happen in the normal way. I'm trying to decide whether we should take the week off. Maybe you guys watching can let us know. Should I take the week off and not do a 10? Or should we do an on-the-road 10, which I can probably film in my hotel room with Michael and behind the camera and me in front of it. I'm kind of in two minds because I don't want it to be too long and verbose. But at the same time, we're going to be doing filming. And Kate, unfortunately, last time, Kate was able to do 10. She was off on Thursday and she was able to get it to work. But this week, Kate is working on a Thursday in her other job. So Kate can't do it.
Sorry.
But so Friday 10 is going to be slightly different. If it happens, it will be slightly different. I'm going to film a Sunday Musing in the Chicken and Garden today. I know you all need the time off, but on the road 10s are always fun, says Anonymous Freak. Yeah, give Kate homework. She can't. She's not able to film it this week.
Yeah, it's kind of frowned on to film in the room with patients. I mean, kind of.
That might be a thing of HIPAA, right?
Yeah.
So it seems that some of you want to do an on-the-road 10. It's not going to be a normal fun on-the-road 10, though, because Kate's not going to be with me. So it's just going to be me in a hotel room. Maybe there's going to be another EV journalist or YouTuber there who'll join in. I don't know. We'll see if we can make that happen. But then I'm supposed to be doing this video on the Ford and Tesla tie-in and what that means. I'm going to be honest. If we have time to do that today, we'll do it. If not, we may not, because we're juggling a whole load of different things and trying to make sure everything is. And we, trying to get everything sorted is kind of tough. There are a couple of videos that are now in the can. So we have a tour of WAE Technologies that has now been finished and is ready to go live. Michael is in the other room. WAE Technologies is good to go. So we'll do a tour of that. We also have a video about ceramic coating the Chevrolet Bolt EV, in which you get to see me wash my wife's car in real time. Although I think Michael sped up portions of it, combined with an interview from Jason, who is the owner of Fresh Start Detail in Beaverton, who worked with us on that. So we're going to be doing that. That's going to be coming up as well. Next week is the Patreon hang time. It's going to take place on Wednesday next week. I've changed my mind as to when that's going to happen. It's going to happen on Wednesday, and that is going to be pushed. So if you sign up for a Patreon account today and you choose the $15, the $50, or the $100 a month tier, you'll get a free 7-day trial of Patreon, and then you'll be able to then join us for the hang time next Wednesday. That's how that will work. So that's cool. I think that's it. Oh, and of course, the Nissan Ariya review, which this is the B-roll for, or the A-roll. This is all A-roll. So this is the chase car footage, and this is the stand-ups, where Kate and I absolutely nailed. We nailed it.
I mean, to be fair, the best thing for me was watching Michael absolutely lose it behind the camera. So it's been a while since that happened.
I must admit, I nearly whipped my phone out to record Michael just doubled over in hysterics behind the camera. He's got really good at quiet laughing, but he didn't do it yesterday. And of course, Erin's got the cans on listening to the audio, and she's laughing too. So, we managed to corpse our crew, which is always fun. Cardboard passenger replacements for the live audio field that the passengers using social distancing / work from home. I'm afraid we're flying. I would love to have driven, but I couldn't make it work, because to drive to LA is a 4-day round trip. And that meant that we would have been away for 5 or possibly 6 days. So, there we are. Love the Volt. It should still be in your fleet. Well, it is. I mean, Michael, our DP, owns a Volt with a V.
That's
and I own a Bolt with a B. Or rather, my wife does. We jointly own everything. So we own a Bolt EV, and we have the F-150 Lightning. The other thing that I need your help with is we need to make a decision on the Honda. The Honda Insight project, which is a Honda Insight that was partly converted to electric. It's got an EV1 motor. We just haven't had the money to spend on making that car happen. So, we are unfortunately not in a place that allows us to work on it, and we have to decide whether we're going to give it away or whether we're going to do something else. I'm going to have to go now because the car pimps have... the car guys have turned up. Kind of let that one out of the bag, didn't I?
Yeah, that's kind of slick.
Well, if you're watching this, you now know what we call the car folks who come and drop off cars. We call them car pimps because they turn up with a really nice, clean car, let us have fun with it for a week, and then give it back. And on that note...
Oh, dear. Whoops.
I know that these particular car pimps, I'm just going to use the word now, they are lovely. We love these guys. I think I've actually used that term in their presence and they thought it was hilarious. But yeah, they basically turn up and they give us a car for the week. They're currently driving. What are they driving? So it looks like they're driving one of the Infinity SUVs, and they're here to pick up the Nissan Ariya E-Force, which we just finished a review of yesterday. The next cars on our list, just as if you're interested, we have a Genesis GV70 on the way, and we also have a Lexus 450E. Is that correct? I think that's correct.
Right. I think so.
So we've got a couple of other vehicles coming. Anyway, please support us on Patreon. It makes our lives a lot easier, and then I don't have to worry about, cash flow and stuff. Thanks, everybody. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield.
I'm Kate Walton-Elliott.
Keep evolving.